This is just the amount of carbon that I was able to extract easily. We still haven't flushed it out. Carbon on the valves. We got some gummy valves. What is that junk? The runners look, you know, not too bad, but those valves, they obviously have some deposits on them. Cylinder number 2, cylinder number 3, and cylinder number 4. Well, let's go ahead and clean those things up and see how nice we can get those things looking, because on our last video we took the intake manifold off. This was the 2-piece manifold with the intake runners right here and the aluminum housing right here. So you're going to want to look at that video if you haven't seen that, because that's about twice as difficult to take this style intake manifold off as it is to take this style intake manifold off. We stay curious here in the NaptownTuner garage, so we're going to talk about what happens and why these valves get carboned up. But part of the reason is what I'm doing right here. We're going to take a look. It does look kind of extra oily, in my opinion. Sometimes this carbon is more dry looking. And look at that, I went ahead and broke it. These things, if you try to pop them off and you're not using the right tool, you can easily break these. What I was trying to do was not necessarily break it, but I am using a pretty husky tool. But I'm trying to just pop this cap off. Oh man, look at that. We had some major breakage. Actually, you know what? It just did feel kind of crispy anyway. And this is an aftermarket. Do we not have... It's funny because it looks like it has a legit part number, but there's no Audi emblem. So this is aftermarket anyway. So this is suspect. I'm not gonna, me personally, you know, unless it says like Valero or what's that company name? Someone tell me in the comments. It's actually, there's a few aftermarket brands that I'll go with, but this plastic is subpar in my opinion. This seemed to have been in good shape. No cuts or anything. It seems like the rubber's nice. But I feel like it was letting more oil through, because this is... Well, let's talk about this. See this? See all this oil right here? Let's talk about this in a different video. I tried to get you as much light as I can. I got you my Matco under hood light. I got you all these shop lights all the way around, like a straight up mechanical surgeon in a delivery room, delivering a TFSI baby. And what we got right here is a Q5 in this gummed up valve situation coming out of the birth canal. So we got to get in here and cut this umbilical cord off and try to get some placebo taken out right here, or something like that, placenta. Say what? What is this dude talking about? Well, now that I got your attention, let's talk about something more serious. Detonation. What is detonation? What is knock? What I have right here is a piston. This side of the piston looks perfectly fine. That side of the piston is blown complete to shreds. It's junk. You know what? It probably took the block out with it, because what happens is whenever this blows apart, it turns into like a big massive back scratcher for the cylinder wall. Only it's not really a very friendly back scratcher. It's kind of like baby tiger kittens with full-grown adult mama tiger claws ferociously trying to get out of the engine. So what's going to happen is perfectly good compression is going to turn into piss poor compression, and very quickly turn into zero compression, and very quickly scratch the cylinder wall liner so that it will have to be bored out and punched out, and the cost will probably exceed what it's worth to just find a lower mile junkyard engine. Next step. Why in the world would I do that? Is that a scare tactic? Yes, it is. Am I trying to be scary? Is this going to happen to you? Probably not. This is still very rare, but I have a theory hypothesis. And my theory hypothesis is that this carbon that I just showed you on the intake valves, it can accumulate so much that some of it can come off as maybe, imagine a hot charcoal from a fire pit or such. This is very hot cylinder head. All it takes is for a piece of carbon. Let me see if I can scratch a piece of carbon off of one of these valves. That didn't take anything. You see that big old chunk of carbon? That did not take anything. Imagine if this little hot piece of carbon, you see it, works its way into the cylinder. It's still glowing hot, kind of like a glow plug. This is where octane rating comes into effect. You have to have a very sufficient octane to be able to control the ignition. Whenever you have some carbon that might float into the engine and possibly pre-ignite some very hot, vaporous gas, low octane gas, mind you, it could create a detonation event and explode your piston. Do you want more information about this from someone that actually knows a thing or two? I mean, I might be a little bit of an idiot, but at least I'm putting videos out and teaching some things, and anyone and everyone can put in their own 2 cents worth. This is just my opinion hypothesis. So not only will you get the basic benefits of getting a smoother flow with not obstructed carbon buildup on the valves, but you will also get, you could potentially get a cold start misfire with gummed up exhaust valves, and lack of performance without the smooth flow. You're just generally going to get better performance all the way around without a clogged up intake. I mean, is that so hard to believe? So it's really on a directed, the reason why we got it is because we have very hot temperatures in the cylinder head, and we have direct port injection. In the past, it's sprayed fuel on the valves back here in the intake runner, and that is allowed. And fuel, all the fuel companies have to have an additive package for cleaners in their fuel. So whenever fuel is being sprayed on the intake valves, it never has a chance to get gummed up. But with the way that this PVC system pulls the oily fumes and particulate matter from the top of the engine and tries to regurgitate it through the intake, that's how you get this hot, sticky film that attracts any bit of crusty, unburnt fuel and oil deposits. We'll just say that. It's a lot better if you're using, I don't even think it would, if you were using regular fuel, there wouldn't even be not regular fuel. If you were using regular oil without using the synthetic oils, this carbon issue, in my opinion, would be at least 5 times worse. That's another hypothesis theory. Tell me what you think about that. Just based on the oil technology and how it doesn't break down. And that's another video as well. So we got to get to cleaning, because that's what this is all about. After you follow my last video or find a different video, I've got like 5 of them where I take the plastic manifold off, you're going to get your breaker bar with your 24 millimeter socket or a 15/16. If you're an old man with only standard sockets and you don't want those newfangled metrics, then we're going to see that. I just put it on without too much effort, and then we're gonna spin it around. It is nice to spin it with the engine. Right now it's going backwards, but some people are hecklers on that, in my opinion, ain't no big deal. Unless your timing chains, here's the controversy on that. I looked into this. Always spin the engine forward, can't ever spin it back. Well, I can't see to where that would ever cause any damage spinning it backwards to the engine. People say that it could skip time if you spin it backwards. That's what they say. Well, I know for a fact I'm putting a new I'm taking this one all the way. Typically, I'm putting a new engine in and I have it timed anyway, but I know that this one has an updated timing chain and I'm taking this one all apart anyway, so I'm not worried about something that could very rarely happen in a rare circumstance. But yeah, if you don't want to take a chance, if you're working on customer cars all day, it's always a good practice to just follow the rule of spinning it the way it normally goes. That way you don't have to worry about quirky situations like skipping a half tooth of timing on a customer's car and now you got some weird issue that you didn't need to deal with. Anyway, back to all we're doing is turning the engine over so that we can get the valves shut. Now see how that valve is open right there? And you can also see the stem up top, how it's clean. What we're gonna try to do is just close up them valves. And then, see, I went one more. I think that it's all the way full. I went one more. And so now I'm almost positive it's completely shut. But to make sure, I'm gonna go ahead and pour something inside that cavitation. And what I'm gonna pour in there, and what I'm gonna pour in there, and what I'm gonna pour in there, and what I'm gonna pour in there is all gonna be different things, and we're gonna see what works best. The first orifice we're going to use, acetone. It's dang old near empty, so I gotta get the thing way down here, and I gotta take my turkey baster type tool, and we're gonna get some in here like this, and we're just gonna baby bird it into here. The idea is we want it to stay in there. That's enough. Let me zoom in and show you. Now we don't want to get this on the paint or anything. We need to keep the acetone away from paint or away from anything that matters. You see how it's just staying in there now? Now let's just let that soak and see if it softens up that carbon. And we're gonna try something else for the rest of them and see which one I like best. Here I have a MasterTech pick set. And what we will be using is one of each. No, not necessarily. But we'll try this one. 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 And this one. Okay, let's get started. This is one of my favorite carbon cleaning tools with the hook. And I've got a longer one. And that's because if you'll notice, it can get behind the valve stem here, trying to get you a good view. It can get behind the valve stem. Is it zooming? And scrape it back there like nothing else can. And you'll move it back and forth like this, and then you'll flip it around the other side and do it on the stem like that. So this is a very compact brush. Imagine we're trying to clean this. I've got only the cleaning compound, which is acetone in this case, in the first one. The rest of these I haven't done anything with yet. But if I can get you the best view I can, you see this even with this very compact brush, we can't get past that valve. You see it in there? It hits the valve, and really all we can do is kind of brush the runner. we're not gonna be able to clean the face of the valve at all with a brush like this. So pretty much all we can do is get in there with picks when we're trying to clean it like this. Now some people do like brushes like this. Well, here in the garage we do have this style brush, like you would find in your anti-seize container and such. And if you'll notice, it actually will fit, if we can get some light. It will fit down all the way in there, although it's not the most stout brush. It would be nice if I had a wire brush like this. I already did some pick work though, so this is gonna brush loose some of the carbon on the bottom. And we're just gonna work, oop. I'm melting! Ah! And I just was swabbing and I blotted right here. This is covering my oil filter. And if you'll notice, I picked up tons of chunky carbon. Let's go ahead and just do our first extraction test. What I mean by that is, I got this old coffee cup right here, and we're gonna just try to extract some of this acetone. We're gonna have to go, ooh. We're gonna have to go both intake runners. Yum, 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 yum. If you have a wet vac, a shop vac, be a good job for this, that you don't care about. Now that was the initial clean out. This is gonna be a subjective test. I'm gonna go across the whole deal and I'm gonna do the same thing. I might show you, the retrieval, but I'm not gonna show you every little step. But obviously I can do it better with better tools and better picks, but let's just see what happened with that. Still lots of chunkiness. Pretty difficult to get all that stuff out. That's some slimy, chunky stuff. Now what we can do is go back to our arsenal of picks. Now what we can do is go back to our arsenal of picks and we'll go for the straight long boy. And what we do with this one is we just kind of, now that we can see things better with the fluid gone, I mean there's still a little bit down in there which helps. We can just work our way all the way around and get the perimeters and also kind of work our way up top. And just kind of swing it around. Make sure you just kind of really break things up. It just takes time. You could sit there and try to systematically do it, but you ain't gonna be able to. I was being careful, but what would be smart to do is I have some of these blue shop towels. It would be smart to stuff these injector holes because you're trying to clean the carbon and you don't really want to get old dirty carbon or old dirty carbon cleaning fluid back down into the combustion chamber. So just pack that good old injector hole full of shop towel and that's for good measure. It's even cleaner. But how are we going to get all this crud out? Is it still stuck on? And there's still a little bit of wetness down there, is there? I mean, it looks like maybe not. A little shimmer. This is some tough stuff. It's still caked in there. I'm going to drain out the liquids and hopefully the solids will remain in the bottom. It's starting to be just solids. So I'm sure that there was at least 3 times that amount, but that's the amount that was left over. There's some on both sides there. And you see, this is what's on the brush. This brush was completely clean before. I didn't contaminate it with anything else. This is all what the carbon looked like. See this chunk right here? Let's put it on the paper towel. Ah, we lost it. Anyway, we got it back. It's right here. We like to save this stuff because we can make our own special mechanics coffee out of this. This is carbon grounds. It's like Folgers, only better. This whole valve cleaning thing, it's gonna have to be a separate video because this thing's gonna run on if I do all the different testing and then if I show an experiment with different ways of extracting all the carbon. Other than just my little old turkey baster, we gotta figure out a way to flush this thing with primitive methods, if possible, that everyone has on hand so that everyone doesn't have to go get a walnut blaster. So we'll see what we can come up with. Watch the next one that I put out. But since you waited to the end, let's cover the benefits real quick since this is the basics video. You're gonna restore your engine power as much as you can when it comes to the intake by clearing up the intake. You're gonna get better fuel economy when you restore the engine power. You're gonna restore, by restoring the engine power, you're also gonna restore any possible engine misfires or cold start misfires or running lumpy. You're just gonna have a good frosty wholesome feeling in your heart that you know at least that your transportation has a clean intake bill of health. So watch the next video and we'll try all the different methods of cleaning on every individual intake runner and we'll see which one dissolves the carbon the best and extracts it the easiest.